So on today's video, we're going to cover the top mistakes that new people make when getting into breeding ball pythons. Hey guys, it's Rich from Predator Ball Pythons. And on today's video, I want to try and make a video to help newcomers out that are getting into the hobby, thinking of breeding these amazing animals, and basically try and help them to stop making some of the mistakes that I made when I first got in, and you see other people making consistently when they get into the hobby. So let's go right to the absolute beginning where, that's where you can make one of the biggest mistakes going forward, which is not really thinking about what you want to breed. And in order to understand what you want to breed, you need to understand what you like. Now, I know I love clown, all right? And this is my Batman here. His name is Bruce, and he is a leopard spot nose clown, aka the Batman. And I knew when I started breeding again in 2025, that's the road I wanted to go down. I wanted to take the Batman project and add other genes into it, and then get more recessives going too, and then put it into pied and some other things too. So, we're going to end up making the most of the fact this guy is het for Desert Ghost. All right. So we're going to get some recessives in. We're going to get some co-dominants in. But you really need to understand what it is you want to breed. What do you like? Do you like crazy patterns? Do you like dark snakes? Do you like bright colored genes like the lavender albino, the banana? What is it you like? Do you like the ultramel? What type of recessives do you like? Do you like pied? Do you like clown? Do you like exantic? There's just so much out there. So before you even think of purchasing snakes with the intent to do some hobbyist breeding, really understand what it is that you like. Then understand what you're going to make when you do your pairings. When you put a male to a female, the genes that they contain, understand what direction you want to go in. Okay, it's really, really important. You don't just want to breed the animals that you may have purchased already, that you're in your collection, that maybe are pets, or you don't want to jump on the first snake that you see because it's cheap, or you just fall in love with the look of the animal, because the animal itself might be beautiful, but you've really got to understand what you're going to produce genetically. So once you've got that, once you understand what you like, and you understand what you actually want to make, then you're in a position to start thinking about breeding. Which brings me to my next point. Now, one of the other mistakes that I see new people making when coming into the hobby, mistakes that I've made in the past too, is keeping snakes too hot, or really not controlling your temperatures, which becomes really, really important when you're breeding, especially for your females and for your males. You see, keeping your snakes too hot can affect fertility, and you've got to be really careful with that, because you don't want to go through the whole breeding process and then you just end up with slugs and no viable eggs. Now, what goes hand in hand with that is really understanding what a thermostat does and how it works, and understanding that this is the key to controlling your temperatures in your tubs. Obviously, there's a bit more that goes into that with controlling what goes on with the room that you're in, and obviously you have to factor in humidity as well. Humidity is really important, but let's specifically talk about temperatures here, because I think a lot of people go wrong by literally just keeping the snakes too hot. You need to understand that when you set your thermostat up, that what you set this to isn't going to be the temperature in your tub or in your enclosure. You are going to have to use one of these, and you're going to have to adjust this and use this until you get that temperature spot on. Now, I'm tending to keep my breeding snakes around 29. I don't want them 31, 32, and you really start to see females getting bothered when the temperatures are sitting around 31, 32. And then if the summer hits as well, and it just makes it even more hot like it does in the UK, and it affects your snake room, it's just upping things and potentially making things worse, and making the possibilities of, producing slugs or affecting sperm viability even worse. I mean, you might not even get slugs, but you might end up with deformed snakes and things like that too. So temperatures is a must, and not keeping the snakes too hot is a mistake that I think a lot of people make, and you really, really need to get on with that and focus on that immediately. Get the setup, get the environment right before you start hooking your snakes up. And I mean, even before that, just keeping the snakes. If you've been keeping the male too hot, the damage might already be done by the time you pair him to the female. If he's not got a viable sperm, you pair him to the female, it's already going wrong at that point. So guys, get all over temperatures. It's a must. Now the next one is a big one, and one that I felt certainly when I did my first lot of breeding, and that is fussing too much and not being patient. Okay, now let's talk about patience. You have to have it if you're going to be breeding ball pythons. You know, when I was younger, I bred mice and rats and things like that, and it was very, very easy. The gestation period is relatively short. So, you know, the length of time that you put into it isn't that big, and you're constantly getting babies, right? If you breed rodents for your snakes, you know this. With snakes, completely different. They only go once a year if they go, right? So we really need to be patient because we're only going to get one clutch a year. You may only be doing 1 or 2 pairings a year. So, you know, your patience really, really has to be there. Now, what goes in line with patience is not fussing. Constantly looking at the males and females when they're breeding, pulling out the tubs, disturbing them. All of these things can rattle your snakes, and then they can affect their behavior, and they could decide actually not to breed, or the female could decide, oh, I'm not going to lay eggs because I don't feel secure. Do you know what I mean? But fussing goes deeper than that and really comes down to when they're about to lay eggs, constantly checking the female. And I mean, that's a crucial time for her, right? You just want to leave her alone. And then when you've got eggs and they go into the incubator, you hear of how new people to the hobby are constantly opening that incubator door, constantly checking on the eggs, and you just want to leave them alone. Of course, you want to do a check every now and then, but you want to let nature take its course. You want to let nature take its course for the whole thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't observe, and that's bringing me to my next point, which is missing the signs. Now, you need to see the signs within your animals to know if things are going to go well and kind of predict whether you're going to get eggs. So the first signs, obviously, that you'll see from the female, and this might be before you even start pairing, is cooling behavior. That's why I like my setup, and I've spoken about it before, because without even disturbing the snake, I can see if they're cooling. But you're going to do maintenance every week. You're going to check your animals every few days to see if you need to do any spot cleaning, fill up the water bowls, stuff like that. That's your time to really spot what's going on. Am I seeing the cooling behavior? When I do my pairing, am I catching lock-in? Are those snakes compatible? Are we getting locks? Are they breeding? It's another good sign, right? Then you've got going off food when they get nearer the time because they're running out of room. You know, so that's another sign, right? They were feeding really ravenously, and then suddenly they stop and they go off food. And then spotting ovulation and tail suck, right, is crucial, because if you spot that, you can kind of roughly predict, right, I'm going to get eggs now, right? And I know within a certain amount of time that I'm going to get eggs. So, you know, it's going through that process, waiting for the pre-lay shed, and then waiting for them to lay, and then being able to spot those eggs and get them into the incubator when they're ready. All right, so spotting the signs is crucial. It will, in your first year, train you for your second year, because once you spot those signs for yourself, you know exactly what an ovulation looks like over a build. You see tail suck, which is confirmation you're seeing ovulation. You can spot these behaviors going forward: cooling, stopping feeding, all of it. So another mistake is just not being observant. All right, really educate yourself to begin with on what you should be looking for with the signs. Obviously, I'll do another video really running through them, but I've spoken about them just now. Keep it simple. I like to keep things simple. These are the signs I learnt to see, and I feel very, very confident now in knowing what females are going to go, what females aren't, and what stage I'm at in the process to be ready and being ready for eggs, which brings me to my next point. And this is probably one that I see happen so much for people, which is not being prepared with egg boxes. So getting egg boxes wrong can be terrible, especially for a new person doing their first lot of breeding. And so many people can face setbacks in the beginning where they go to breed, they've got a lot of passion, they want to do it, but they do something wrong and it all goes wrong. And then sometimes it's once bitten, twice shy, right? And then they stop and they quit the hobby and they go, I'm not doing that anymore, because it is quite a blow. So things like having your incubator, you know, all set up and at the right temperature is vital. Getting your egg boxes right and having a foolproof method is vital. For me, using the grate, which you can see inside the box there, putting the eggs on top of it, making sure there's enough moisture within the substrate at the bottom so they don't dry out, making sure there's ventilation around your tub and it's not completely sealed, but sealed enough to keep the humidity in. It's just foolproof. Don't let your eggs touch the side of the box. Don't oversaturate it in here to the point where water then starts dripping on your eggs. These are all things that I see people making these mistakes, and then things go really, really wrong for them, which is really horrible to see. Really hard for them as well because it's such a setback. So get your incubator, obviously top notch, but get your egg boxes right. It's an absolute must. So just to cap it off overall, guys, it's just not being prepared and rushing into things and not doing your research. Now, I was quite lucky. I did a ton of research when I got into this, and YouTube is great for that. Find some breeders you really identify with that you can see are successful and really bone up on what you need to do, but also try and connect with people, you know, one-on-one if you can. You can get hold of people through Facebook, through Instagram. You can connect with breeders out there. I was lucky when I got into this. I was around fully established breeders, so I had access to that information. I was able to watch what they was doing and I was able to learn hands-on. So I did the whole education online and I did the whole reality education too. But I think that's one of the biggest mistakes overall, is just not being prepared all round to fully understand what you need to do. Then you gain experience when you do, once you get into it. And you will make mistakes here and there. It's just inevitable. It's human nature. We all do it. And if you've tried already and made mistakes, don't worry about it, okay? Get back on the horse and do it again. You learn from every mistake. It would just be nice if we can help people to avoid some of these, which are avoidable just by having foolproof methods like with your egg boxes, keeping your temperatures right, knowing exactly what you want to breed and what the outcome is, so that you get snakes that are going to produce holdbacks for you, and you get snakes that are desirable too, so you don't just end up with a load of normals or 1 gene, 2 gene animals, which we know is so hard for you to move on now with the way that the market is. You want to establish yourself in a good, strong place right from the get-go. So it's just not being prepared overall. And there's just a world of education out there. I'm now on a mission to start putting out more educational videos and really get back to doing what I used to do best, which is trying to help new people come into the hobby, learn, be successful, and just enjoy it. It's how we build this hobby. It's how we continue to make it grow, is through that education, and it's through helping people, right? Guys, look, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope some of you guys that are watching this or channel for the first time or thinking about breeding, I hope this has been helpful. Any of you guys that have watched this video that are already breeding and you feel there's something that I've missed, that you come across newbie mistakes that are made a lot, jump down in the comments, share your knowledge down there so other people can read it. It's what it's all about. Otherwise, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and I will see you on the next one.